What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of The Variety Views. I'm your host, The Variety Vendor. I wanted to do something different this year for Wrestlemania, being that it is tonight, and I have been a bit hyped for the show. I really wanted to also look into the shows that are happening during WrestleMania weekend. Now, it is sad that there aren't many companies out there that are really getting on it when it comes to the whole WrestleMania weekend. Mainly, I think because of WWE pretty much having a monopoly in the whole thing. WrestleMania being 2 nights, you got the Hall of Fame, you got SmackDown, you got Raw. So there isn't any room for any company to really shine through. But the first show that I really want to talk about is GCW. This is the first GCW show that I ever got to watch in full, and also my first Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 10. And I've heard nothing but good things about it, and the whole Bloodsport theme and everything. And there were many times where I would be like hesitant about watching it because I didn't know if a gimmick like that can hold up an entire show. So let's get right into it. We got Akira Way and Victor Benjamin starting off in a fun little match. Now basically what it is it's kind of like MMA rules, but the ring has no ropes. There are no fighting on the outside of the ring. Most of the action is in the ring. I wanted to say in between the ropes, but there are no ropes. And there's like this. There's this old school mentality, but at the same time, if you would watch like matches in like the 70s and like the early 80s, they would go to the outside. They would do a lot of things, to get the crowd going. Especially when you have a card, you gotta, mix it up a little bit. You look at like the Terry Funk matches, where he would go to, through the crowd, like, Bruiser Brody and like Stan Hansen. But I really thought that this card was going to be on shaky grounds, because the first match I thought kicked ass. I thought it was a lot of fun. I didn't know much about the two guys, but Victor Benjamin ended up winning. And like this is going to be a theme with a kick to the head. There's a lot of kicks to the head that end the match. And sometimes it does feel like the ending to the match is a bit premature, but they're trying to make it feel like, any match could end at any time. But there is a problem that occurs later on, and we'll get to that. Well, there are a couple of problems. So yeah, fun opener. I'm not gonna give it any stars. I'm not gonna give any of these matches any stars. I'm just gonna say either it was fun or it was bad or boring or whatever. Then we got Nick Nemeth, aka the man formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, going up against Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey had one of the best matches last year. Definitely in the top 10 best matches of last year against Will Ospreay in Bound for Glory. And they had a really, really good match. Honestly, I would say this was match of the night for me. I liked how realistic, and there are a lot of the guys on a lot of guys and gals on this show had a pretty realistic kick-ass match, but I thought this really felt like a fight. And Nick Nemeth continues to shine. I really think that if only he went this journey like 10 years ago, or maybe like in 2017, before he like re-signed. If only he went, if only he left, to New Japan or whatever, because I really think that Nick Nemeth showed here that he can do it all. He can have a professional wrestling match. He can have a fight. He can have a gimmick match. He can do it all. And it's a shame that we don't get to see him in WWE anymore. But I do think that this was kind of like this was the match that made me go, okay, I think this was Nick kind of pushing a little bit to wanna go back to WWE. I feel like this whole journey, it made me feel like, okay, Nick, he's doing all these things, he's hitting all these points just to show WWE like, hey, I can be a top guy, and maybe he can come back in like a year or two and have like this resurgence, this Drew McIntyre resurgence, or like a Bobby Lashley resurgence. Who knows? I would say time is not really on his side, but then again, he looks amazing, and there are like a few guys in this card that are like pushing 50 and 60 and look great. So Nick Nemeth ends up winning, hitting the zigzag on Mike Bailey and then choking him out. This is my favorite match of the night. Then we got Lindsay Snow against Lady Frost. Yes, Snow versus Frost. This was a I guess this was a Blizzard brawl, you know. This was part of the women's tournament, and I guess it was for a cup, and I'll get to it. I'll talk about the cup later on. Jeez. This match was good. I'm a big fan of Lady Frost. I love Lady Frost. I enjoy her in AEW. I enjoy her in Ring of Honor. I think Lindsay Snow is interesting. She's very interesting. She comes out with Vanessa Carlton's song, 1,000 Miles. So weird. So weird. Like, she comes out and all I can think of is Terry Crews bobbing his head in that movie White Chicks. It's so funny. And she comes out, she looks like a badass. She reminds me of Luna Vachon. And she's really good. She's really good in the ring. I would like to see her signed, in a major company, because she has that look. She has that distinct look that I think both these women, Lady Frost as well, my God, both of them are just like, they look like stars. They look like big stars, even with Lady Frost coming out without the gimmicks, without the Lady Frost gimmick. The cape and everything, she still looks like a star, and they both had a really good match. It didn't go long. Lindsay Snow submitted Lady Frost in Lindsay Snow. Did I say Lady Snow? No, Lindsay Snow submitted Lady Frost in some sort of like leg lock, and Lady Frost just tapped out really quick. Didn't go long. It was just like, none of these matches went long, but this match went for like 2 minutes. But it was fast paced and it felt like a fight, and I really enjoyed it. Then after that, we got one of the problems that I have with this show, Marina Shafir, Mrs. Roderick Strong. Good God. She had a match with Janai Kai. Janai Kai comes out and she reminds me of Bruce from Tekken. If you know who Bruce is, put him up right there. And she has a distinct look, and I'm like, okay, there's this kickboxer, this cool. Marina Shafir comes out, and I'm not really interested because it's Marina Shafir. And they have this quote unquote fight, and I lost interest. Honestly, I lost interest a minute in, and this didn't go long. It went like almost 4 minutes, and it felt like it. My God, it felt longer than that actually, because Marina Shafir, she not only is a bad wrestler, but she's bad at choreography. So all in all, it was a sucky match, and then at the end she wins. She wins with the quote. with Mama's Milk. It's pretty much like a front rear of, it's like a rear naked choke, but like doing it from the front. I know it's weird. So she calls that Mama's Milk. I don't know. I didn't like this. This didn't go over for me. After that, we got William Regal's son, Charlie Dempsey, going up against Matt Makowski. I don't know if he's related to Kick Butowski, but they had. This is the first match that I got to see for Charlie Dempsey. Not really following NXT that much. And I'm really liking this excursion that Triple H is putting Charlie Dempsey through. Charlie Dempsey, he wrestled a match, I believe, in All Japan a couple of months ago. And he had a good showing there, apparently. I don't know. I haven't seen that match. And he had a really good fight here against Matt Makowski. Say that 5 times. And he beat him with the Kimura Lock. And he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Match went a little bit long. I think like maybe Matt Makowski is known, or something. I don't know. I haven't heard anything of him. But it was a pretty good match. After that, we got Takuya Nomura against Fuminori Abe. Okay, this was close to being the best match of the night. If it wasn't for the Nick Nemeth and Mike Bailey match, this was almost my favorite match of the night because I didn't know anything about them. I had no idea who these two guys were, but Fuminori, he had these facial expressions, these weird facial expressions, while he's, whenever he gets his leg locked or he's in a hold, he starts, having these wide eyes and looking at the fans, and he really knows how to emote. But at the same time, I think he kind of forgot that this was kind of like a choreographed. I guess every wrestling match is a choreographed fight, but this was like choreographed MMA. So he shouldn't be doing that, but it got the fans going. The fans were interested. So in a way, it stood out more. It stood out more than any other match on the card because everything else was playing on serious and being like, oh, this is a fight. This was more wrestling than anything else. So the only thing missing was the ropes, and then you would have like an actual wrestling match. So this was a lot of fun, and at the end, Takuya got his forehead busted open after like a headbutt, and the dude kept on fighting until at the end he kicked again, the kick to the head, and he won. And yeah, this was great. This was an absolutely great match. Second favorite match of the night. Then we got Eric Hammer against Lou Nixon. I know nothing about these guys, and they ended up having, I guess, an okay match. It went by real quick, so I didn't really get that much into it. I just was like, okay. I remember pretty much everything in this card. I remember like all the matches. There are things that stick out. This is a match that was forgettable. Like it happened, it was good, it was passable, and then I forgot about it. So it was a forgettable match. Then after that, we got Minoru Suzuki against Royce Isaacs. This was fun. This was a fun match. Most of the matches on here are fun, but this was the most fun I had on the show because Minoru Suzuki is awesome. What is he, like 60? Let me check. He is 55. He's almost 60. It's weird, man. It's weird. He's 55, but he wrestles like he is 20 years younger. He's so freaking awesome. He's still running on all cylinders. He is the greatest 55-year-old I've ever seen in wrestling. And he goes out there and he's hot dogging with the crowd. He rolls out of the ring. There was this fun moment where he rolls out of the ring, then he rolls in, and then he rolls out again. And then at one point he sat on, on the lap of one of the females in attendance. And it was funny, he was like, yeah, come on. And, it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Because Minoru Suzuki knows when to turn it up and be like, crazy Minoru Suzuki. And he knows when to dial it back into like, fun gimmick, wrestling, comedy wrestling. This had a little bit of comedy, but when it got serious, it got really serious. So it had a lot of flavors going on in this match. And at the end, Minoru Suzuki won with his Gotch style pile driver. This was great. This was great. I enjoyed it. After that, the most disappointing match on the card, a match that I really was looking forward to, Axel Tischer, formerly known as Alexander Wolf from NXT. He was also part of Sanity. He was part of Imperium. He went up against Timothy Thatcher. This match, like, when I hear Timothy Thatcher, whenever I hear Timothy Thatcher is gonna have a match, my eyes perk up. I'm like, ooh, I want to see this match. Who is he gonna face? And then when I heard it's gonna be Axel Tischer, I was like, ooh, former Alexander Wolf. He was my favorite of like Sanity, and he was great. So I was really looking forward to it. I expected this to be the equivalent of freaking old school, like freaking Don Fry versus Takayama, like fight, like where they're just gonna bash their brains in, and it's gonna be like a sprint. It's gonna be like a 2-minute, 3-minute fight, and everybody's gonna be on their feet, and everybody's gonna go crazy, and it's just gonna be wonderful. It's going to be the epitome of Bloodsport. This match, I gotta say, it was boring. It was boring. And it went for, this was one of the longer matches, actually. This went almost 8 minutes. And you know what the funny thing about this match is? Is at the end, in the last minute or 2 minutes, it actually got going. The fans were getting into it. It felt like it was going to go in second gear and everybody was going to go, ooh. But it ended. And Timothy Thatcher won with the Fujiwara armbar. It was disappointing. It was absolutely disappointing. Speaking of disappointing, Shayna Baszler against Masha Slamovich. This wasn't as disappointing as the Timothy Thatcher match. This was very good, but it had the potential to be the best match of the night. Like, I was really, really looking forward to it. I like Masha Slamovich. I like MK Ultra from TNA. This could have been built as WWE versus TNA. They could have put that in the billboard and it was like WWE versus TNA. Oh my God, they're gonna fight. This is like, Dream Promotions fighting. This is like, because for years, we wanted to see that. We wanted to see a TNA wrestler versus a WWE wrestler. Didn't matter who, didn't matter where, didn't matter how. We just wanted to see TNA versus WWE, and now we got it. And it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. It was getting so close, so freaking close to being a great match. And then it stopped. It went for like 7 minutes, but during those 7 minutes, I can't say like it was boring, but it was building. It was building and building and building and building. And when you got there, by the end, and they were kicking each other in the head and like stomping each other, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be like an all-timer. I'm in. I'm gonna watch every GCW show going forward. And it ended. And Shayna Baszler won at the end. She just stomped like a couple of times in the back of the head of Masha, and Masha was protecting herself, but the referee was like, "Hey, no, you got kicked in the head a couple of times. No, dude, I'm ref stoppage," and he just stops the match, and that was it. And Shayna won. Like, I have no problem with Shayna winning. It's just, I expected more, but hey, what are you gonna do? After that, we got the finals of the women's tournament. Marina Shafir against Lindsay Snow. I watched this match twice. Like, I watched it the first time, and I was bored. I was really, really bored. Second time I watched it, because I was like, okay, wait. Maybe it's just me. Maybe there's something about it. Maybe because, maybe I have something against Marina Shafir. I don't know. I like Marina Shafir. I like her story. I like there was like a video they put out with her and Roderick Strong a few years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I liked the journey and everything, and her wanting to become a wrestler. But man, I feel like they're giving her everything. It doesn't matter if it's GCW. It's still like she should be working from the bottom. I don't know. It's not like she's a big name. I don't know. I don't see her as being like a huge draw. But she has a match with Lindsay Snow. Lindsay Snow looks like $1 million, and Marina Shafir comes out, and all she's got going for her is like ex-MMA guy. Who cares? It's not like a new thing. It's not a new thing anymore. And she's, part of her entrance is throwing her socks into the audience. Jeez. So they have this match, and it was boring. Even the second time around I watched it, it was even worse. And it ended. It ended because Marina Shafir kicked Lindsay Snow out of the ring. And Lindsay fell to the outside. Like 2 seconds later, she got up and she's like, "Oh, I'm okay." And then the ref is like, "No, you're done. You're knocked out." I don't know. For the finals of the tournament, and again the cup. Oh boy, the cup. The cup was like, I don't know. It was like really bad. I didn't expect like a New Japan style cup, with rubies and sapphires and blah blah blah. I expected something more. I expected something to represent Bloodsport, to represent like the grittiness. Like, think of like ECW and all of that, and CZW. I expected something more, but we ended up having like a regular trophy that you can buy from the mall. It's just, and Marina Shafir was like, she's carrying the cup, and she's like, "Oh, I won." I don't know. I really don't care. I'm still gonna try. Like, if Marina Shafir is going to show up on AEW or Ring of Honor, I'm gonna watch her, but I'm not gonna follow her for a while. I had my fair share of Marina Shafir matches. Thank you very much. Then we have Josh Barnett against Johnny Bloodsport, aka Johnny Impact, aka Johnny TV, aka Johnny Elite, aka John Morrison, aka who gives a fuck. John Morrison is amazing. I love John Morrison. And here, he proved he's another guy that, much like Nick Nemeth, is a great all-around wrestler. He can work any style. And he had a fun match with Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett is almost 50. I remember when this guy showed up in TNA like 10 years ago, and he confronted Lashley, and he looked old then, and he was like 36. And he still looks old. Like, I don't think there was ever a time where he looked young. He always looked old. Even when he was in his 20s, he looked like freaking Dolph Lundgren. He's big. He's a big guy. And he's another former MMA guy. But this guy actually is legit. This guy is a lot of fun to watch. He's a good wrestler. and they had a really good match. Not a great match, but a really good match. And Johnny Bloodsport comes in here, and he is 2-0 in Bloodsport. Josh Barnett is 4-1-1, and so they're almost evenly matched. And they end up having a really, really good match. I really enjoyed it. And at the end, Josh Barnett wins with a waistlock suplex. Like, he wins the match with a waistlock suplex, but it did look gnarly. I gotta say, it did look gnarly because when he did it, he looked like he almost pile drove Johnny Bloodsport, and it was like in the the hardest part of the ring, the freaking the side, and it was a fun match. And at the end, Josh got on the mic and he's like, "Yeah, I love you guys. I love you, Johnny." And Johnny's like, "Yeah, I love you too, even though you kicked my ass." So this was a lot of fun. Then Josh was like, in June they're gonna go to Japan and they're going to fight with the best fighters that Japan has to offer. Not only that, he is putting out a challenge to the likes of Sakuraba. I didn't even know that he's still wrestling. Also Minoru Suzuki. I think Josh had a match with Minoru Suzuki before. And also, he called out Rampage Jackson. I'm like, wait a minute, Rampage Jackson is wrestling? I don't know. I think I've heard about this like a while back, that Rampage started wrestling. But hey, if he is, then cool. He does have a great look for wrestling. He reminds me a lot of Bob Sapp. So yeah, that's freaking cool. So yeah, that was GCW. GCW. Bloodsport was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it from top to bottom. It was a fun show. There were a couple of matches that I thought weren't good, mainly the Marina Shafir matches. I think the two Marina Shafir matches really brought down the card. I think if you really wanted to have Marina Shafir on the card, it should have been her and Shayna Baszler, honestly. I would have loved to have seen Marina Shafir and Shayna Baszler. They have that history together, and I really think that it would have been great, having them go up against each other. I'm sure they sparred multiple times in the past, like for years. So yeah, I think it would have been great to do that instead of having Shayna go up against Masha. And I think Masha could have benefited more to be in the tournament instead. If you would switch the roles of Masha and Marina, I think it would have been great. I think this could have been like an all-timer. I think it would have been, I can't say it would have been the best pay-per-view of the year or the best show of the year. I would definitely say top 5 for sure. If that was the case, because I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching this show. This was way different than I expected, and the show breezed on by. This is only like 2.5 hours. The matches are really quick, and I'm looking forward to Bloodsport 11. I'm not going to continue watching GCW, but I'm definitely going to check out Bloodsport 11.